Alright, let me tell you something about being a Blue Jays fan in 2025. It's complicated, it's messy, it's beautiful and brutal at the same time. And if you've been riding with this team through everything, you already know what I'm talking about. The season ended, but the conversations didn't. They never do. Walk into any sports bar in Toronto right now and mention George Springer's name. Watch what happens. Some people will shake their heads remembering 2024, that disaster of a year where nothing went right for him. Others will light up talking about how he came back in 2025 like a man possessed. 32 home runs, 84 RBIs, a batting average that actually made sense again, and that swing in Game 7, the one that sent everyone into absolute chaos, the 3-run bomb that put the Jays back in the World Series conversation. That moment alone justified everything. But here's the thing nobody wants to say out loud. Springer is 36 years old. That's not young in baseball years. That's the age where teams start having uncomfortable conversations about your future, where general managers start thinking about payroll flexibility and whether nostalgia is worth the investment. Springer proved in 2025 that he's still got it, no question. The Silver Slugger Award as a designated hitter proved that. Getting nominated as an outfielder too? That's legendary stuff, but the reality is always lurking there in the background. How long can this last? Is this the final chapter of greatness or just a pause before the decline continues? Nobody thought he'd bounce back like this. After hitting .220 in 2024 with only 19 home runs, people were writing him off. Social media was brutal. Talk radio was worse. Everyone had an opinion about what went wrong. Was it injuries? Was it age catching up? Was it mental? The theories were endless. Some fans wanted him traded. Others wanted him moved down in the lineup. A few even suggested benching him more often. The noise was loud and it was constant. But Springer did what champions do. He shut out the noise and went to work. Think about what that takes. You're a 4-time All-Star. You've won a World Series MVP. You've been one of the best players in baseball for years. Then suddenly you're struggling and everyone's questioning everything about you. The pressure of playing in Toronto is real. This is a hockey city first, but when the Blue Jays are good, this city goes absolutely insane for baseball. The expectations are massive. The scrutiny is intense. There's nowhere to hide when you're not performing. Springer felt all of that in 2024. Every strikeout was analyzed. Every weak ground ball was criticized. The weight of it all could have crushed him. Instead, he came back stronger. The .309 batting average in 2025 wasn't just good, it was vintage Springer, the kind of number that reminded everyone why the Blue Jays signed him in the first place. The OPS of nearly .96 was elite territory. Those aren't empty stats either. This was production that mattered in meaningful games. Springer wasn't padding numbers in blowouts. He was delivering when the team needed him most. And that's always been his trademark. Big moments don't scare him, they energize him. That Game 7 home run against whoever they faced in the ALCS, that was pure cinema. The count doesn't even matter anymore. The pitcher doesn't matter. What matters is that moment when the ball left his bat and you just knew. Every fan watching knew. That sound, that trajectory, the way Springer dropped his bat and started his trot. It was over. The Rogers Center erupted like it hadn't in years. People who had been sitting stood up. People who had been quiet started screaming. Strangers hugged strangers. That's what baseball does when it's at its best. It creates these moments that transcend the game itself and become memories that last forever. Getting back to the World Series meant everything to this organization and this city. Toronto hadn't been there in so long that an entire generation of fans had grown up without experiencing it. Sure, people remember 1992 and 1993, but those memories are getting older. They're becoming history instead of lived experience. The 2025 run brought that feeling back. It reminded everyone what it's like when October baseball matters, when every pitch carries weight, when the whole city is dialed in and watching together. Even though the series against the Dodgers didn't end the way anyone wanted, the journey there was something special. And Springer was at the center of all of it. His leadership in the clubhouse matters just as much as his production on the field. Young players watch how veterans handle pressure. They watch how guys like Springer prepare, how they deal with failure, how they celebrate success. Having someone who's been to the mountaintop before, who knows what championship baseball feels like, that's invaluable. You can't teach that experience. You can't simulate it. You either have it or you don't. Springer has it. That 2017 World Series MVP award isn't just a trophy. It's proof that he knows how to win when everything is on the line. But while Springer was having his redemption tour, something else was happening beneath the surface of the organization. On November 6th, Major League Baseball released the list of minor league free agents, 574 names across the entire league. 15 of them belonged to the Toronto Blue Jays. 15 players who had been part of the system, grinding away in obscurity, trying to make their dreams come true. Now they're all free agents, testing the market, hoping someone else sees potential where Toronto apparently didn't. This is the part of baseball that doesn't get enough attention. Everyone focuses on the big league roster, the guys making millions and hitting home runs on national television. But underneath that, there's this entire ecosystem of minor leaguers, hundreds of players scattered across different levels in different cities, all chasing the same impossible dream. Most of them will never make it. That's just the brutal math of professional baseball. For every guy who becomes a star, there are dozens who flame out. But they all start with the same hope, the same belief that they're going to be different, that they're going to be the exception. Jason Brown is a perfect example. Canadian kid drafted by the Blue Jays in the 3rd round back in 2019. Outfielder with speed and defense, the kind of tools scouts love. He worked his way up through the system, making it all the way to AAA by the end of 2025. That's no small accomplishment. Getting to AAA means you're one step away from the major leagues, one injury to someone ahead of you, one hot streak at the right time, and suddenly you're living your dream. But now Brown is a free agent. The organization he grew up in, the one that drafted him and developed him, is letting him walk. Maybe they'll re-sign him. Maybe another team will take a chance. Or maybe his professional baseball career is effectively over at 25 years old. Andrew Bash, Phil Clark, Gabriel Martinez, these names don't mean anything to most fans. They're not on baseball cards, they don't have highlight reels on social media, but they're real people who dedicated years of their lives to trying to become major leaguers. They played in front of tiny crowds in towns nobody's heard of. They rode buses through the night to get to the next city, the next game, the next opportunity. They made poverty-level wages while their friends from high school and college started real careers. They sacrificed relationships and stability and comfort all for the slim chance of making it. And now they're being released into an uncertain market where hundreds of other players are competing for the same handful of spots. Then you've got the guys who came through trades. Edinson Batista arrived from Houston. Alex DeJesus came from the Dodgers. Edinson Pino was part of a Red Sox deal. Robinson Pena came over from Miami. Each of these players was once considered valuable enough to be included in a trade at the major league level. Some general manager looked at their scouting reports and analytics and decided they were worth acquiring, but none of them stuck. None of them became the piece that made a difference. Now they're all free agents too, looking for another chance with another organization. The midseason additions tell another story. Elisa Hernandez, Adam Kloffenstein, Joe Mantiply, Renee Pinto, Buddy Kennedy, Eloy Jimenez. These are the guys teams sign when they need depth during a playoff push or when injuries create unexpected openings. Most of them are organizational filler. They're insurance policies that rarely get cashed in. Kennedy's situation is particularly weird. He played for both Toronto and Los Angeles during 2025, which means he's eligible for a World Series ring no matter who won. Imagine that. You barely contribute to either team, but you get a championship ring because of timing and transactions. Baseball is strange like that sometimes. What does all this turnover in the minor leagues actually mean? That's the question front offices spend millions of dollars trying to answer. On one hand, this is completely normal. Every organization loses minor league free agents every year. You can't keep everyone. Rosters have limits. Budgets have constraints. Tough decisions have to be made about who's worth investing in and who isn't. Letting 15 guys go might just be standard business, clearing out space for the next wave of draft picks and international signings. But on the other hand, it could be a sign of something more concerning. The Blue Jays farm system hasn't produced the way it was supposed to over the past few years. Look at the major league roster and count how many impact players came up through Toronto's system. There aren't many. Most of the team's best players were either signed as free agents or acquired in trades. That's not sustainable long term. Championship organizations are built on a foundation of homegrown talent developed internally. The Dodgers do it. The Rays do it. The Braves do it. Toronto has struggled to do it consistently. Maybe these 15 departures are just addition by subtraction, moving on from guys who weren't going to help anyway. Or maybe they're evidence that the player development system needs serious work. What makes this all more complicated is that these things take years to evaluate properly. A prospect who looks promising at 21 might flame out by 24. A guy who struggles initially might suddenly figure it out at 26 and become a contributor. Baseball development isn't linear. It's messy and unpredictable. Teams draft hundreds of players hoping that 2 or 3 become stars and another handful become useful role players. The hit rate is terrible, but that's the nature of the game. You take lots of swings knowing most of them will miss. So here we are, standing at this crossroads where the past and future collide. George Springer represents the past, the veteran excellence that Toronto bought and paid for. His 2025 season was a beautiful reminder of what elite baseball looks like, but it came with an expiration date attached. How many more years can he do this? 2, 3, 1? Nobody knows, and that uncertainty hangs over everything. Meanwhile, these 15 minor leaguers represent different possible futures, most of which will never materialize. They're lottery tickets that didn't pay off, at least not for Toronto. Some other organization might scratch off the winning number, but the Blue Jays have moved on. This is what being a fan means. It's celebrating Springer's heroics while simultaneously wondering what happens when he can't do it anymore. It's watching prospects leave and hoping you didn't just let a future all-star walk away. It's living in this constant state of excitement and anxiety, always looking backward and forward at the same time. The present moment is never quite enough because you're always thinking about what came before and what comes next. The Rogers Center crowd knows this feeling intimately. When Springer steps to the plate, there's anticipation mixed with gratitude. Every home run might be one of his last great moments. Every big hit adds to a legacy that's already cemented but still being written. The fans cheer louder because they understand that time is undefeated. Athletes age, skills decline, moments pass. You have to appreciate greatness while it's happening because it won't last forever. That's not pessimism, that's just reality. At the same time, somewhere in the minors, there's a kid who doesn't know his name yet, but will be wearing a Blue Jays uniform next season. Maybe he's the next big thing. Maybe he's the player everyone will be talking about in 2027 or 2028, or maybe he's just another name on next year's list of minor league free agents. The cycle continues. Players arrive with dreams and either achieve them or don't. The organization makes bets on talent and development, winning some and losing others. Fans watch it all unfold, investing emotion in outcomes they can't control. The contrast between these two storylines is what makes baseball compelling. Springer's triumph is immediate and tangible. You can point to his stats, watch his highlights, remember exactly where you were when he hit that Game 7 homer. It's concrete. It happened. Nobody can take that away. But the minor league situation is abstract and uncertain. Will the Blue Jays regret letting any of these 15 players go? Will one of them become a star somewhere else? Will Toronto's farm system suddenly start producing impact talent? These questions won't be answered for years, and even then, the answers might be unclear. What we do know is that Toronto's window for contention is weird right now. They have some good pieces. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is still young and elite. Bichette can be brilliant when healthy. Springer just proved he's not done yet, but the roster has holes. The pitching staff has questions. The division is brutal with the Yankees and Rays and Orioles all trying to win. Making the playoffs in the American League East is never easy. Getting through October is even harder. The 2025 run to the World Series was special, but losing in the final round stings. It raises the question of whether this core can get back there and actually finish the job. Every decision the front office makes from here matters. Do you extend Springer or let him play out his contract? Do you go all in on winning now or start planning for the next wave? Do you trade prospects for proven talent or hold on to them hoping they develop? These aren't easy calls. Get them right and you build a dynasty. Get them wrong and you waste years of competitiveness. The pressure on general managers and ownership is immense. Fans want to win now. They're tired of moral victories and almost moments. They want parades and championships and memories that last forever. That's the backdrop against which these 15 minor league departures have to be understood. They're not just random transactions. They're part of a larger story about organizational philosophy and direction. Every player released is implicitly a statement that the team didn't see enough upside to warrant keeping them around. That might be correct evaluation, it might be a mistake. Time will tell, but what it definitely represents is a willingness to move on, to keep churning through options, to bet that the next group of prospects will be better than the last one. And maybe that's okay. Maybe constant churn is actually the smart approach. Keep bringing in new talent, keep evaluating, keep making tough calls. Don't get sentimental about prospects just because you invested draft picks or money in them. Be ruthless about moving on when someone isn't cutting it. That philosophy has worked for some organizations. The Dodgers are famous for constantly refreshing their minor league system, churning through hundreds of players to find the handful who can contribute. It's cold and calculating, but it works. Or maybe loyalty and patience matter more than cold efficiency. Maybe Jason Brown deserved another year to prove himself. Maybe one of these 15 guys just needed more development time and better coaching. Maybe the rush to move on is actually counterproductive, creating a revolving door that prevents players from ever getting comfortable enough to reach their potential. This is the eternal debate in baseball front offices. When do you give up on a prospect? How long is long enough? What separates a late bloomer from a bust? George Springer didn't have to worry about any of that. He'd already proven himself long before he ever put on a Blue Jays uniform. His career was established. His reputation was set. The 2024 struggles were concerning, but they didn't erase everything he'd accomplished. He got the benefit of the doubt because he'd earned it. These minor leaguers never got that chance. They were judged on limited sample sizes, incomplete development, and potential that may or may not exist. That's the difference between being a veteran star and being an anonymous prospect. One has earned trust, the other has to prove everything from scratch. The 2025 Blue Jays season will be remembered mostly for the World Series run and Springer's redemption. Those are the stories that stick in people's minds because they're dramatic and easy to understand. But underneath those headlines, the organizational story was more complicated. 15 players left, new ones will arrive. The farm system continues its evolution. Scouts are already watching college players and international prospects who might be drafted in a few months. Player development coaches are designing new training programs. Analysts are crunching numbers trying to find market inefficiencies. The work never stops, even when the games do. For fans, the offseason is this weird period of hope and anxiety. Hope that the team will make smart moves to get better. Anxiety that they'll make mistakes or lose key players. Every rumor gets dissected. Every interview gets analyzed for hidden meaning. It's exhausting, but also kind of fun in its own way. Being invested in a team means caring about all of it, not just the final score of games. It means following the minor league signings and the coaching hires and the front office philosophy. It's a year-round obsession that only makes sense to people who share it. So where does this leave the Blue Jays heading into 2026? With questions, mostly. Can Springer maintain this level another year? Will any of those 15 departing minor leaguers haunt them? Can the young core take the next step? Will the pitching hold up? Can they get back to the World Series and actually win it this time? Nobody knows. That's what makes the whole thing compelling. If outcomes were predictable, sports would be boring. The uncertainty is the point. Every season is a new story with an unwritten ending. What we can say for sure is that being a Blue Jays fan right now means embracing contradiction. It means celebrating a 36-year-old veteran's renaissance while acknowledging his time is limited. It means trusting the organization's evaluation of minor league talent while questioning whether they're making the right calls. It means believing in the team's championship potential while recognizing all the obstacles in the way. These contradictions don't need to be resolved. They can coexist. In fact, they have to coexist because that's what fandom is. It's holding multiple truths at once. The good and the bad, the hope and the fear, all of it swirling together into something that matters deeply even though it's ultimately just entertainment. The Rogers Center will fill up again next season. Fans will cheer for Springer every time he comes to bat. They'll watch nervously as young players try to establish themselves. They'll argue about roster decisions and managerial choices. They'll live and die with every win and loss. And somewhere in the minor leagues, players who nobody's heard of yet will be grinding away, dreaming of their shot. Some will get it, most won't. The cycle continues, relentless and beautiful and cruel all at once. That's baseball. That's the Blue Jays. That's what you sign up for when you care about this team. And if you're still reading this, still invested in these stories, then you're part of it too. The wins and losses belong to everyone who cares enough to pay attention, to feel something, to believe that next year might finally be the year everything comes together. Maybe it will be, maybe it won't, but we'll all be there to find out, living through it together, one pitch at a time.